There'll probably, I'm gonna make 3 other motions as well. But I'm gonna support this motion because we need to go ahead and send it out for bid. But there'll be 3 other motions right behind it. And I hope the board votes for them 5-0. And hopefully this one will pass 5-0. So we have a motion on the table at this point to go ahead and rebid the current phase 1 that we have now, which includes the bike and walking trail, includes the south end from Reunion intersection south to 463, and includes the intersection at Gluckstadt. That is phase 1. Okay, any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. I also would like to make a motion to bid to send out for advertisement for the intersection at Gluckstadt only.
Wait, you had a motion, we didn't vote on it.
We just voted on it.
Yeah,
Your motion?
yeah.
Yeah.
To rebid.
So I have a motion to bid for the intersection at Gluckstadt only. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second for Supervisor Banks. Discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed?
I'm gonna vote. I wanna do. Wait, let's talk about the intersection at Gluckstadt. That's part of the phase 1 project.
That's right. We're gonna make a motion to bid it out separately
Why would we do that?
to see what the bid comes in.
Why don't we just bid it with phase 1?
Well, it is.
Yeah.
It is with phase 1.
So,
I'm gonna lump it in with phase 1. I'll be a no on that one.
Okay, that's fine.
yeah, I'm gonna be a no. I'm gonna.
Okay.
I'm gonna be a no.
So, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Okay, 3-2. Second motion is to bid to advertise separately from the south end, from the Reunion interchange to 463. That's my motion. Do I have a second?
That's
That from where? Say it again.
From the Reunion interchange south,
south.
going south on Bozeman to 463.
Okay.
Got a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
It's got a second. Supervisor Banks, discussion?
Paul, you got,
Ain't that phase 1?
it's all
That's,
phase 1.
we're gonna bid out separately.
Oh.
Different direction.
Separately.
It's bidding phase 1, but your starting point is at Reunion going south as opposed to
That's right.
463 going
We would
north.
get separate bids on each one individually and then one as a whole, and then when they come in, we can look and see what we can afford to do, which our administrator will be talking about our finances here in a few minutes. But on the table now, we have a motion to bid out from south end of Reunion interchange to 463, that one section.
Yeah.
463.
463.
That's just one small area.
So basically, what you're doing is taking the entire phase 1 and bidding it out into pieces,
That's right. That's exactly right.
so that we can.
My
Okay.
point is
They have some financial changes.
of seeing it being bid out in pieces. We'll see. Can we save any money?
Well, what we
Or see where our bond capacity is.
Yeah.
Those are my reasons are willing to let it be bond out in 3 different phases and the one.
Yeah.
One is, hey, if we can afford it and do it, we do the whole
That's right.
thing at once.
That's right.
If we can't, we might have to do this section, and kick the other section down the road. So
That's exactly right. That's the key is looking at our finances, our bonding capacity, which will be talked about here shortly. And that's the reason I'm making the motions separately to where we can actually move forward with all of phase 1. If we can't, then we'll back up and look at it separately
So
and see.
before I vote on this, what is your third motion?
We got the motion on the table. So the motion on the table is to do that section on the south end.
You gotta stick with the.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed.
Just stick with the whole project.
The last motion I would make would to give Tim the authority to go ahead and start purchasing right-of-way easement for the rest of Bozeman Road. So that's my motion at this point. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second Supervisor Banks.
That would be the second phase anyway, so we need to go ahead and get started.
The rest of Bozeman Road?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
We will start buying right-of-way and easement for the rest of Bozeman Road that we do not have.
We've got a second on this, so for discussion,
It is for discussion, yes.
we've got money concerns on phase one, so we're gonna start on phase two buying right away.
Yes, sir. We will start buying right-of-way on phase two because that's part of doing Bozeman Road
In its entirety.
Why would we
entirely.
spend money, if we can't afford this project, why would we spend money on another part of the project? Wouldn't it be best to allocate all the funds necessary to get phase one done that we have access to? I'm not a proponent of wasting taxpayer dollars. Right now, we've wasted about $6 million of getting things engineered for phase one, and about $4 million of businesses in the county that have relocated utilities. I'm not in the habit of wasting their money either. So breaking all these things down and bidding stuff to spend more money that doesn't actually get anything done, I do not think is a valid use of our time, a valid use of our resources, and it's still not gonna happen until 2028. I think we need to focus on getting an actual road actually built with our money that the taxpayers gladly turn over every year so that they don't have to deal with traffic. We are sitting here making motions to basically kill action. We are sitting here to make motions that get nothing done. We're gonna sit here with the same traffic getting worse every day on Bozeman Road Phase 1. We're sitting here spending money, making motions to spend money to do stuff that's not gonna get here in 2028. And I'm sorry, Mayor, but in 2028, we're gonna be faced with the exact same thing. The new shiny is gonna be in front of us. We're gonna spend $10 million to get your section done, to alleviate your problems, and still nothing's gonna get done. Because we can't unify and say, we're going to get something done.
Well, you addressed me, I'll
Yes.
respond. I have a lot more confidence. I have a lot more confidence in the board unifying and getting what I'm asked to be done apparently than you do. All I can tell you is I'm here asking for the city of Gluckstadt's interest to be considered.
I understand that.
And I have
I appreciate
it. Hold
confidence
on a
that the
second, let me
board,
talk.
I have confidence that the board can get that done.
Well, I'm not seeing evidence that we are putting any shovels in the ground, and I am disappointed. I don't know. I was elected to my position. I knocked on doors. I walked streets. I talked to people, and I know that Bozeman Road traffic is a problem. I know that I was elected and sent here to make votes that get stuff done. And I don't know if I'm gonna be here for 4 years or 30 years. But I want to be remembered. I want to get reelected because I'm getting stuff done. I'm not making motions to put stuff off to the future and then nothing getting done. We need work done on Bozeman Road today. We needed it 7 years ago. We need it more now. And 2028 is not now. 2028 is 4 years from now. This board is all gonna be up for a reelection in that year. We may not all even be here, and there will be new priorities and new things, And based on what I'm seeing today, phase one won't be done, phase two won't be done. We're just gonna spend a lot of money and everybody's traffic will be worse. We need to make a decision to get something done and go out with a bang and say, this Board of Supervisors, they can work together to do what's best for the county every single time.
Okay, thank you, Supervisor Brandon. Mayor, do you want to say anything else? Thank you. And it sounds as if somebody's concerned or interested in getting reelected.
Yes,
That's what it
that is
sounds.
it.
That's what it
I'm
sounds
working on
like.
re-election.
But to me, this is moving things forward. And once we get the bids back in roughly 60 days, then a decision will be made what section of Bozeman Road or the intersection will be done at that point. And that's what I'm trying to do now, is make sure that this board has as many options as we can have on the table to be able to finance some of those options, if not all of the options on the table. So that's basically what the motions are about. So the motions on the table at this point is to continue or to have Tim to start buying right-of-way and easement for the rest of Bozeman Road. Motion's been seconded by Supervisor Banks. Any other discussion?
I'm gonna vote no, because I think we should push forward with phase one at this current time because of the work that's been done, probably in the neighborhood of 10 million, plus the money that was given to us in good faith by our state and federal leaders to push forward with phase one. To start phase two currently with not being sure where our bonding capacity is would be a mistake.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Before you go forward, Gerald, and while the mayor still is here, I know we're talking about Bozeman Road and traffic coming through Gulfstack. I don't want you to leave out that Yandere Road brings a lot of traffic through your city. And I hope we can get together soon, because Yandere Road needs some improving.
A lot.
And we fussing and disagreeing on Bozeman and Reunion is holding up the project that I want to push through to get it going, to get traffic moving that direction.
Exactly.
And I'm saying this for my colleagues to hear, and Mayor and your alderman to hear. That side of your city got traffic problem too.
And again, Supervisor Griffin, I agree with you, and that's the reason that I asked to break it up like I did, is because Stribling Road, it needs another phase to it besides the phase that we just approved here a couple of weeks ago. Yandle Road, we promised the people on Yandle Road that we would look at Yandle Road and either widen it or do something that will ease the traffic there as well. So we have many capital projects out there. We have more than just one at this point. And so breaking them down into different sections will give us the opportunity to look financially what we have and which projects we can go with. But I did ask Tim to come to the podium, and while he's making his way up, I want to make one thing very clear for myself. I am for supporting Bozeman Road from the intersection at Gluckstadt to 463. 100%. My mind, my thoughts has never changed since day one we started on this 4 years ago, 5 years ago. It's just a matter of how we're going to finance it, how we're going to get things done. I know a couple of weeks ago there was an article in the paper saying that I wanted to abandon part of Bozeman Road. Guys, that is not my word. That's never been my thought process, never come out of my mouth. That word belongs to the reporter that wrote that article, Michael Simmons. So only thing I would request is, anytime you read the local paper, be very careful what you believe. If it doesn't come out of my mouth, just say it's not facts. They have my number. I'll be glad to sit down with them and talk with them on my thoughts. But make it very clear, I am totally support of Bozeman Road from Gluckstadt intersection to 463. No doubt about it, and we are going to be moving forward with certain sections, or maybe all of it, of Phase 1. It depends on what the bid comes back with. So at that point, Tim, if you would, just speak on what you know on the traffic.
I don't think anybody has said anything today that hasn't been true. There's traffic on both ends of Bozeman Road that need a widened road. There's traffic on the south end that justify a widened road. There's traffic on the north end that justifies a widened road. As it was mentioned earlier, the two places in the county that the county itself is looking at as far as big traffic generators are Yandell Road area and the Stribling Road, Catlett Road area, outside of incorporated areas. You know, the Yandell Road area, we are working at widening Yandell Road currently with a project that we're working on, and we've also just submitted an MPO project in coordination with the city of Gluckstadt. In the Stribling Road area, we're widening Catlett Road with a project that we've got currently. We've also submitted an MPO project to help widen Stribling Road down to the northern end of that Catlett Road project. Widening the northern end of Bozeman would help alleviate that area. Sure, it would. You know, it would help alleviate the northern end of traffic. It would not help the southern end. Widening the southern end would help the southern end of traffic. So, yes, both ends need to be widened, and which one is widened first is a decision that you all need to make.
So tell us about the work that's been done on Phase 1.
On Phase 1 was exactly what you mentioned earlier. We've done the environmental phase, we have done the design, we've done the we've done the right-of-way purchase, we've done utility relocation, and we're at a point where we're ready to advertise, which is what you all just voted to do.
And how many years did that take to do all that work?
We've been working on this about 7 years.
Okay. Is there, what I would like to, Gerald's mentioned that he's in favor of widening the whole thing. What I would like to do is, since we're shovel ready on Phase 1, is to start work, but bond the money to widen the whole road. Is that something that we can explore?
The whole road, you talking about Phase 1 and Phase 2?
Phase 2.
That would be a
You
question
might
for others.
get my vote, but you're gonna have to show me the bonding capacity and show
Let's
us
just,
how we gonna fund it.
I think Greg could
The
better
quicker
answer
I
that
can
for
get
you.
that out the way,
Yeah.
I can start on Yandell Road.
I'm all for it.
Well, here's,
Hey, I got one question, because it was, I guess Supervisor Casey pointed out, when we asked him to start buying right away, and of course, we talking about Phase 1, and she said, it's been 7 years to do buying right away and environmental and all it takes. So to start you buying right away on Phase, like Gluckstadt South, how many years is that gonna take?
We don't have any federal money right now on Phase 2, but the environmental for Phase 1 incorporates the area that Phase 2 is in, because in Phase 1 went from Gluckstadt down to 463, so it would be a modification of an environmental if we went back and got federal money on that phase. So that part wouldn't take nearly as long.
Okay.
are you talking about a year and a half, 2 years?
For the second phase, it would take about a year to buy right away and about a year to move utilities.
Okay.
So we could be at the point of advertising that project in 2026.
well, Tim, these utility companies went out there in good faith and moved those utilities on Phase 1. You think if we say, hey, we're gonna cancel this, we're gonna go to Phase 2, they're gonna hop right back out there and start running utilities again?
I can't answer that question
I
for
would
you.
like to answer that. We haven't canceled anything.
Okay.
That's where the misnomer has come in. This board hasn't canceled or done anything as far as stopping anything. What we're trying to do is look at our finances, in which Greg is prepared to talk about those this in a second as well, to see how we can move forward, not only on Bozeman, But we have other capital projects that this board has agreed to do, plus some that we are looking into at this point that this board has voted to move forward with that hasn't been brought back to this board. So it's not only just Bozeman Road that we're looking at as far as capital projects. And Greg will talk a little about our finances. So when you hear that, hey, the board is wasting money, we may lose money, that's not true. You know, on the south end, we wasted $10 million that I've heard Supervisor Baxter say. That's not true. That money is for right-of-way and moving utilities, which is going to be there once the road gets done, regardless whether we do it today or whether we do it next week. That money is well spent. We're not going to be losing any of that easement and right-of-way and utilities. It's just a matter of where our finances will carry us. And as any business, and this is a business, you run it as a business, as Supervisor Griffin indicated. Yandle Road is very important. Very important. We must look at Yandle Road as well, and that takes finances. All right, Greg, come up and thank you, Tim.
Greg, before you get started, I would like for you and Tim to explore, obviously, we're shovel ready on phase one. We've got money from state and federal officials to begin work on phase one. But I would like a cost estimate on doing the whole road from Gluckstadt to 463 and timeline on doing the whole road.
Yeah, is that something that we could do simultaneously?
And when will the Amazon, when will our budget change as far as the new Amazon project?
I think Greg has that answer.
Yeah.
If we do the project as one project, that does push back phase one because phase two is not.
I want to start on phase one and then have phase two lined up to go.
Right afterwards?
Okay,
all right.
What if on phase two, we were able to get some type of federal funds? That glues up the gear. I mean, we have to abide by their standards, right?
We would just have to go back and retroactively go through their process. But we're going through the process now. We're doing everything according to their process now. We would just have to go back through there and check all the boxes
So
after
if
the
you've got
fact.
federal money for phase two, which is possible,
It is possible.
it would grind up the gears and slow everything down.
It could.
Thank you.
Tim, appreciate it, and I think you have that number that they asked, but
I do.
you have that number because I know we talked about it the last 30 days a lot about the cost of Bozeman Road.
Right.
And that's where the issue comes in, and that's the reason that we're looking at it possibly in different sections, different phases, possibly. Didn't say we was going to, but just possibly looking at it in different phases to be able to finance it and get some of it started, if not all of it, on phase one. But anyway, appreciate it, Tim. Thank you much.
And to answer your question, phase two is estimated at $24 million.
And the whole project is estimated as from Bozeman intersection to
All right, but for
463.
both of the projects, you're looking at $64 million.
And guys, that is where the issue is. That's the reason that I asked for it to be in different phases to where we will have options to be able to come back and say, guys, we can do this phase this year. Next year when our finances get a little better, we may can do this other phase. But go ahead, Greg. And if you would, let's start off with the 7.5 million where it has to be allocated and used.
Okay, as Supervisor Baxter alluded to earlier, the request, forceful request from the state was that at least $2.5 million of it be spent on the south end. I believe that the intention, and this is just one man's opinion here, but I do believe their intention was to include the $5 million as well. We have two cuts of state money that are currently allocated to Bozeman 1 totaling $7.5 million. The first cut was $5 million. That is from a state bond bill. The second pot was $2.5 million. That is capital expense fund money from the state. I am certain of the 2.5, and I believe on the 5, the intention is to spend that money on the south end as dictated by some folks from the state.
So you were told by the state that the money needs to be spent on the south end?
In no uncertain terms, yes, sir.
So what you're saying is, if we can't afford phase 1 with the 7.5 million, we certainly can't afford phase 2 without the 7.5 million. And the 7.5 million, in no uncertain terms, cannot be spent on phase 2.
That was the directive from the state
So,
was to spend that on the south end,
We
yes,
can
sir.
either not afford phase 1 or not afford phase 2.
Well,
That's not the case.
that's,
That's not the case.
it will depend on this board's appetite for risk and what other projects it wishes to fund. There are other projects in play here. We just last meeting, we submitted, it was about $26 million worth of MPO applications. So you've got a collection of other capital projects that it'll be up to this board to decide whether or not they wish to fund those or fund Bozeman Road. And part of that will be based on this board's appetite for risk, this board's projection on growth going forward.
So the money, the 7.5 million has to be reappropriated June 30th, is that right?
I-
That's what I was told by the state, and I was also told by the state that the money, the 7.5 million has to be spent on phase 1 or they're gonna take it away.
I think this board is totally in agreement spending 7.5 million on phase 1 on the south end of the project. I think that came from the state, that I understand, so we're definitely gonna spend that money on that end. Not a doubt.
I would rather not make the state angry, so I generally don't recommend things to this board, but I would recommend that we spend it on the south end, yes, sir.
All right, that's just the right thing to do. You're right.
Is there a chance of us actually losing that money and being in the boat where we can't afford phase 1 or phase 2?
I don't believe so, no, sir.
Okay.
I very much believe that, again, depending on what other projects are funded, this board can certainly afford one phase or the other. And the issue with the bonding capacity is 26 and 27, fiscal years 26 and 27.
So, as just throwing this out there, we have a $300 million loan from the state coming down to us, right? Project Atlas.
That would be, it's coming to Makita, yes, sir. But it's 215 is the number there, yes, sir.
Yeah. Could any of this jeopardize our ability to borrow that money from the state if we just ignore the state and don't spend the money they've given us on the project they've given us for?
In all
Speculation.
In all
Reading
honesty,
between
I
the
have no
lines.
idea. I don't know if that legislation has been passed yet. If it has not been passed, then it would be, or signed by the governor, it would be subject to a veto, just like any other legislation. I don't know if, I think he signed it, which would mean it's a done deal. But I'm not 100% sure where we are in that timeline, because that money's going to Makita and does not count against the county's bonding capacity.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Greg.
I'm happy to answer.
Anything else?
I just wanted to verify that, the state wouldn't possibly put extra stuff on that money that they've done. I mean, they've been gracious enough to give us $7.5 million for a road, and here we are, 7 years later, and we're shovel ready, and we're looking at not doing that project.
I would like,
I don't think we're being good stewards of what we're given from the state, and we need state money.
Supervisor Brandon is new. He hadn't been on the board very long. And I want to go ahead and kind of back up a little.
I'll back up.
Is that saying that hadn't anything been done? Guys, look at Look at the Reunion Crossing Bridge. Look at Phase 3 that we've done. All of these projects was all in one together. It just so happened the other two come on board before Bozeman Road. And what has happened is the last project comes on board, you usually struggle finding finances. And that's the only thing that's happened on Bozeman. Everybody on this board is in favor of 4-laning with turn lanes on Bozeman. It's just a matter of how to finance it. Also, so when you say hadn't anything been done, that is totally incorrect. So the other thing is the 300 million that you named off, that the state, you said, give us, that is totally inaccurate. It's 215 million that the county is paying back the state at 4% interest. They didn't give us the $215 million. They let us borrow the 215, and we're very gracious, very thankful.
Yes, we are.
At 4% interest. So we will be paying that money back over a period of 12 years. So that's a long way from giving. Now, the state did put in $44 million to, to the new project, Amazon or AWS. And so very grateful there, for, I think, for training and other things. But as far as the $215 million, guys, that was a loan to the state at 4% interest. I mean, to the county from the state. And the county would be paying it back over a period of 12 years. So Supervisor Brandon,
I understand.
that's a long way from 300 million, a long way from being given to us.
Well,
So, hold on a second. So, a lot of your statements up here that you made last month, I hadn't said anything till today, but those two needed to be straight and corrected.
you're absolutely correct. That was a loan. The state gets involved, and I want to see something get done.
We all do.
That's all I want.
We all
to
do.
see something get done, some bids put in, some shovels in the ground. Traffic somewhere needs to be alleviated, and I'm not seeing it.
We all want to see that, and that's the motions that we made today. And in 60 days, they will come back in front of us. We'll open the bids. We'll see what they are, and then we'll move forward to see what the county's bonding capacity is, to see which capital projects this board decides to go with. Any other questions for Greg?
Wait, Greg, hold on. When's the AWS ad valorem taxes?
Yeah.
28 for the very first cut. Early estimates, I think, showed 4 million on that, but we'll lose half of it to the state off the top.
So
Which
the
would be
money,
2
the
million.
loan that they keep referring to is coming from AWS ad valorem tax being paid back through that.
Correct. That's spelled out in the fee in lieu, which this board approved.
It is.
Essentially, they pay, I think it's a third of what they would owe otherwise, and the state gets their cut from the top of that payment. So if the payment is 8 million or 10 million in a year, we'll go ahead and give the state 5 to pay back the loan and then distribute the rest to, depending on which building it is or which site it is. If it's in Ridgeland, it'll be the Ridgeland schools or Madison County schools. If it's the mega site, it'll be the county and Canton School District. So that will split out the remaining 5 million in that example.
What does, deduct the loan repayments to the state, what type of ad valorem taxes are we looking at receiving when the project's completed?
First year will be 4 million, and then I think it's about 8 million a year after that. So once they get all the buildings up and running, and that's just an early estimate until Mr. Kennedy can get out there and assess the buildings. Won't know for sure that these are projections based on what they have seen in other similar structures.
Supervisor Baxter, one good thing about that is if we can make it through 28 and 29, our bonding capacity will be in great shape, and we'll be able to do many of these roads without really stressing the county. But we got to make it from here to 28 and continue to do some projects to help move the traffic.
Problem is when you go to federal and state leaders and you ask for money to do a project, you get shovel ready, and then the scope of the project is changed. The next time you go up there, they're hesitant. And so I hope that the county understands what this could lead to if we don't complete the initial scope of Bozeman Phase 1.
We do need to have some of these projects moving forward. I totally agree. And I think this whole board agrees with that. And that, again, that's the reason you had several motions made on this, Bozeman Road, to help move some of this project forward. If not all of Phase 1. We just have to wait and see what the bid comes back in and look at the bid and plus our other capital projects. Other questions for Greg or other statements? If not, Greg, appreciate it. Thank you.
My only concern is I've never bought anything that was cheaper in pieces than it was as a whole.
And you may be exactly right.
So I don't see how it would save us money bidding out Phase 1 into tiny little sections.
But we'll see.
What it may not save us money, but what it may do is let us do a section or two where if we went the whole section, we may not can move forward with that with our abundant capacity. That's where the thought process is. Instead of just holding it up and saying yay or nay and put the county in a stressful situation, we may look at it individually. And I just said may. That gives us the options. It doesn't mean that we're going to go down that road. It just gives us more options once the bids come back for us to look and consider. Other questions for Greg? If not, thank you, Greg. Okay, we're going to move on to business items. I think we have gotten everything up front.